What if I told you that an employee fired after 25 years of loyal service managed to evict the very company that fired her, in just 30 days? This is the true story of Jessie Martinez, who turned her humiliating termination into the most epic corporate revenge ever documented. A silent operation that started with tears and ended with the complete downfall of an arrogant CEO. Before I tell you all the incredible details of this story, let me know in the comments, what city are you watching this video from? And if you want to see more professional justice stories like this one, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Now come with me to discover how Jessie executed the perfect checkmate. For 25 years, Jessie Martinez had been more than just an employee at Technovision Corp., she was the invisible backbone that sustained the entire operation. She started as an administrative assistant in 1998, when the company had only 12 employees and operated out of a small downtown office. With unwavering dedication and strategic vision that surprised even the most experienced executives, Jessie grew alongside the company. Her trajectory was marked by silent but fundamental achievements. She was the one who negotiated the lease contract for the 8-story building on Fifth Avenue when the company decided to expand in 2005. With her natural ability for numbers and contracts, she secured exceptionally favorable terms, fixed rent for 15 years, with automatic renewal option, and most importantly, the contract was registered in her name as the company's legal representative, a common practice at the time to avoid corporate bureaucracy. Jessie transformed that space into an exceptional workplace. She supervised every renovation, every layout change, every technological upgrade. She knew every corner of the building, every supplier, every detail of the maintenance contracts. Her desk on the 5th floor became the company's unofficial operations center. It was there that problems were solved, crises were managed, and important decisions were refined. Employees respected her deeply. Jessie had a prodigious memory for details and a unique ability to anticipate problems before they became crises. She maintained meticulous files of everything: contracts, correspondence, financial records, employee performance history. Her organizational system was legendary in the company, and executives often depended on her expertise to make strategic decisions. During the economic crises of 2008 and 2020, it was Jessie who found creative ways to cut costs without harming operations. She renegotiated contracts, found more efficient suppliers, optimized processes. Her loyalty to the company was unwavering, working weekends and holidays when necessary, always with a smile and positive attitude that inspired the entire team. Everything changed in March 2023, when Technovision was acquired by Dynamic Corp., a conglomerate known for its aggressive restructuring tactics. The acquisition was presented as a strategic merger, but everyone knew it was a hostile takeover. The new owners brought a completely different mentality, cold, calculating, and devoid of the family culture that had characterized Technovision for decades. The new CEO, Marcus Blackwood, arrived like a hurricane of arrogance and contempt for the company's legacy. At 35, with an MBA from a prestigious university and a track record of corporate revitalizations that usually resulted in mass layoffs, Marcus saw Technovision as just another trophy in his meteoric career. His first meeting with employees was a spectacle of condescension, where he made it clear that significant changes would be implemented. Jessie observed everything with growing concern. Marcus and his team of young executives, all wearing expensive suits and carrying latest generation tablets, circulated through the office with an air of superiority that made Jessie's stomach churn. They spoke of human resource optimization, redundancy elimination, and operational process modernization, corporate jargon that Jessie knew were euphemisms for layoffs and benefit cuts. The new management implemented draconian changes almost immediately. Systems that had worked perfectly for years were replaced by more modern solutions that nobody knew how to use. Endless meetings about synergy and disruption took the place of productive work. Experienced employees were replaced by young recent graduates who accepted lower salaries. Jessie tried to adapt, offering her experience and institutional knowledge to facilitate the transition. But she quickly realized that her expertise was seen as obsolete by the new owners. Marcus treated her with barely disguised disdain, interrupting her explanations about established processes and dismissing her suggestions as antiquated thinking. Each passing day, Jessie felt her position in the company becoming more precarious, despite her 25 years of impeccable service. Friday, September 15, 2023, started like any other day for Jessie. She arrived at the office at 7:30 a.m., as she always did, prepared coffee for the team, and began reviewing the week's reports. At 9:15 a.m., she received a terse email from Marcus's secretary, urgent meeting in the conference room in 15 minutes. Bring your personal belongings. Jessie's heart raced. 25 years of corporate experience told her exactly what that meant. With dignity that cost her superhuman effort to maintain, she gathered her family photos, favorite mug, and some personal items in a small cardboard box. Her colleagues watched her with expressions of shock and silent solidarity. Everyone knew what was happening. In the conference room, Marcus sat at the head of the table with two other executives and a woman Jessie didn't recognize, probably from HR. They didn't even bother to stand when she entered. Marcus got straight to the point, his voice cold and emotionless. Jessie, we've decided to restructure the administrative department. Your services are no longer needed. Suzanne here will explain your severance package. The HR woman slid a folder across the table. We have your termination agreement here, she said with mechanical efficiency. 2 weeks' notice, your accrued benefits, and a small gratification for your dedication to the company. The small gratification amount was insulting, equivalent to only 3 months' salary after 25 years of service. Jessie tried to speak, mentioning ongoing projects, processes that only she knew, the necessary transition for her replacements. Marcus cut her off with an impatient wave of his hand. All of that has already been considered. We prefer a more modern approach. You have 1 hour to clean out your desk and turn over all company property. The humiliation was deliberate and cruel. Jessie was escorted back to her desk by security while her colleagues watched in embarrassed silence. 1 hour to undo 25 years of professional life. As she packed her belongings, her mind worked furiously. There was something Marcus and his team didn't know, something she had kept as routine information in her meticulous files. That night, in her silent apartment, Jessie opened a bottle of wine and allowed herself to cry for the first time in decades. The injustice of the situation was overwhelming, being discarded like trash after building her entire life around that company. But the tears of sadness gradually transformed into something different, a cold, calculating determination she didn't know she possessed. Jessie went to her home office and opened the file she had maintained for years about the building's lease contract. As the person responsible for all the company's real estate negotiations, she had kept copies of all relevant documents. As she leafed through the papers, a slow smile formed on her lips. There it was, the original 2005 contract, registered in her name as Technovision Corp's legal representative. But there was more. During the subsequent years, when the company went through various restructurings and ownership changes, the contract had never been formally transferred. Technically, legally, Jessie Martinez was the official tenant of the 8-story building on Fifth Avenue. Technovision, now Dynami Corp, was merely a subtenant, operating under a verbal agreement she had facilitated out of professional courtesy. Her hands trembled when she found the clause she had personally negotiated with the original owner. In case of violation of sublease terms or change in the nature of commercial operations, the principal tenant reserves the right to terminate any sublease agreement with 30 days prior notice. Over the next few hours, Jessie meticulously examined all the documents. The acquisition of Technovision by Dynami Corp had fundamentally changed the nature of commercial operations. Additionally, the renovations Marcus had authorized without prior consultation violated several specific clauses of the lease contract. Jessie had photographic documentation of everything. Her obsession with maintaining detailed records would finally prove invaluable. At 3 a.m., Jessie finally closed the last file. She had not only a solid legal case but a complete strategy of how to proceed. Marcus Blackwood had gravely underestimated who he was dealing with. He was about to learn that firing Jessie Martinez had been the biggest mistake of his career. Monday morning, Jessie woke up with a feeling she hadn't experienced in months: absolute purpose. She dressed in her best suit, the same one she wore for important negotiations, and went out to implement her professional justice strategy. Her first stop was the law office of Ribeiro and Associates, specializing in corporate real estate law. Dr. Paulo Ribeiro, an experienced attorney with whom Jessie had worked on various negotiations over the years, received her with surprise and curiosity. When she explained her situation and presented the documentation, his eyes widened. "Jessie, this is extraordinary. You essentially own one of the most valuable commercial buildings on Fifth Avenue, and they don't even know it." "Exactly," replied Jessie, her voice firm and determined. "I want you to prepare all the necessary legal documents. Notification of sublease termination for contract violation, documentation of all infractions, and an eviction order executable in 30 days. Dr. Ribeiro smiled admiringly. In 40 years of legal career, he had rarely seen such ironically perfect situation. While the legal documents were being prepared, Jessie initiated the second phase of her operation. Using her network of contacts built over decades in the corporate market, she began looking for a new tenant for the building. Not just any tenant, she wanted something that would cause maximum strategic impact. The answer came from an unexpected source: Sophia Chen, CEO of Innovatech Solutions, one of Dynamicorp's main competitors. Sophia and Jessie had known each other for years through industry events, and when Jessie called explaining she had a unique real estate opportunity available, Sophia showed immediate interest. Innovatech had been looking for a new main office for months, and the Fifth Avenue location was perfect. "But Jessie," Sophia said during their meeting the next day, "isn't this the building where Dynamicorp operates? How can you?" Jessie smiled and slid a copy of the lease documents across the table. Sophia read quickly, her expression changing from confusion to disbelief and finally to pure admiration. "My God, Jessie! They have no idea, do they?" Thursday, September 28, exactly 2 weeks after her humiliating termination, Jessie sat in the ground-floor cafe of the Fifth Avenue building, watching the morning movement of Dynamicorp employees. Many of them had been her colleagues for years, and she felt a pang of regret that they would be inevitable collateral damage in her war against Marcus Blackwood. At exactly 9 a.m., Dr. Ribeiro entered the building accompanied by a bailiff. Jessie checked her phone. Sophia Chen was on her way with her legal team to finalize the new lease contract. Everything was moving with Swiss watch precision. On the 8th floor, Marcus was in his usual morning meeting, probably bragging about how he had modernized the operation by eliminating unnecessary elements like Jessie. His arrogance was about to cost him dearly. Dr. Ribeiro went straight to reception and requested to speak with the CEO immediately about urgent legal matters related to the building. When Marcus came out of his meeting with an irritated expression, expecting to quickly deal with what he presumed was some minor maintenance issue, he found Dr. Ribeiro holding a folder full of legal documents. "Mr. Blackwood, I represent Ms. Jessie Martinez, principal tenant of this building. I have here a formal notification of sublease contract termination." The color drained from Marcus's face. "What are you talking about? We leased this building directly from the owner." Dr. Ribeiro smiled professionally and opened the folder. "I'm afraid you're mistaken. All the documents are here. Your company has 30 days to vacate the premises due to multiple contractual violations." As Marcus frantically leafed through the documents, trying to understand how he had walked straight into a perfect legal trap, Jessie quietly went up to the 8th floor. She wanted to see the expression on his face when he realized the magnitude of his mistake. Justice, she discovered, had an extraordinarily sweet taste. The chaos that followed was epic and immediate. Marcus Blackwood, accustomed to being the predator in every corporate situation, suddenly found himself in the position of prey in a trap he had created himself. His first reaction was to try to intimidate Dr. Ribeiro with empty legal threats and corporate bluffing, but the experienced lawyer simply smiled and pointed to the specific clauses that had been violated. "You performed structural renovations without prior authorization from the principal tenant," Dr. Ribeiro explained methodically. You changed the nature of commercial operations through acquisition without adequate notification. And most importantly, you treated the legal representative of the tenant in a manner that constitutes breach of contractual good faith. Each word was like a stab to Marcus's arrogance. The news spread through the building like wildfire. Employees gathered in whispering groups, trying to understand how Jessie Martinez, the woman they had seen escorted out 2 weeks before, apparently owned the building where they worked. Corporate social media began buzzing with speculation and memes about the situation. Marcus desperately tried to contain the damage, calling emergency meetings with his legal team and calling Dynamicorp headquarters executives. But each phone call only made his situation worse. "How did you not verify the lease situation during due diligence?" screamed Dynamicorp CEO over the phone. "You just cost the company millions in relocation costs." Meanwhile, Jessie was in the lobby signing the final documents of the new lease contract with Sophia Chen. Innovatech Solutions would officially become the new principal tenant in 30 days, with an option to purchase the building within 2 years. The contract value was 3 times what Dynamicorp was paying. After all, the real estate market had appreciated significantly since 2005. Corporate media caught the story quickly. Ex-employee executes epic revenge against company that fired her, went viral on LinkedIn within hours. Marcus Blackwood, who had built his reputation as a ruthless and intelligent executive, suddenly became the symbol of the arrogant CEO who underestimates his employees. 30 days later, Jessie was back in the ground floor cafe, but this time as Sophia Chen's special guest to observe the final transition. Moving trucks filled the street as Dynamicorp carried out its forced and humiliating evacuation. Employees carried boxes with expressions ranging from disbelief to barely disguised admiration for Jessie. Marcus Blackwood had been fired by Dynamicorp 3 days after the legal notification, becoming an industry example of how corporate arrogance can destroy a career. His termination was widely covered in business media, with several articles analyzing how he had completely neglected to verify basic lease documents during the acquisition. Innovatech Solutions moved into the building with a ceremony that was deliberately grandiose. Sophia Chen made a point of publicly crediting Jessie Martinez as the visionary woman who made this expansion possible. Jessie was hired as Innovatech's director of operations with a salary 40% higher than what she earned at Technovision, plus equity participation in the company. But Jessie's true victory wasn't financial. It was the restoration of her professional dignity and the demonstration that experience and competence always triumph over arrogance and disrespect. Her story became legend in the Brazilian corporate market, studied in business schools as an example of how institutional knowledge and meticulous documentation can become powerful weapons. 6 months later, Jessie received a LinkedIn message from a former Technovision colleague. "Marcus is working as a freelance consultant now. Seems like nobody wants to hire the guy who lost an entire building because he fired the wrong person." Jessie smiled, filed the message in a folder called "Justice Served," and returned to work. The lesson was clear to the entire industry: never underestimate the power of an experienced professional, especially when she has 25 years of meticulous documentation and knows all the secrets that keep a company running. Marcus Blackwood learned this the hard way, and his fall became a warning to arrogant executives everywhere. In the end, Jessie Martinez didn't just survive her unjust termination, she transformed it into the most brilliant corporate chess move of her career, proving that sometimes the best revenge is simply being better at the game than your opponents imagined possible.